Hello there, they call me Mr. E. Now, why is it today that there is such hostility to the left? Like something has gone wrong at its core. Leftism has lost its connection to the working class, its roots. I originally thought this was just a result of propaganda and the dominance of conservative views in mainstream media and global politics, but it's something else. It has lost its soul. Torn between its traditional foundations and recent evolution, it has become useless as a check on the ruling classes. Lacking meaningful passion, the left no longer has any revolutionary aspiration. But why did this happen? And where did it all go wrong?
My name is Mystery. For reasons unknown, I have been thrown back into the past almost 100 years. And this is my story.
The left, or leftism, is an incredibly important political ideology in the modern world, whether you like it or not. Leftism broadly seeks progressive changes to society based on evolving thought, trends, and understanding. This is obviously opposite to its spectral rival, conservatism or right-wing ideology, which seeks to rein in progressiveness as much as possible in order to restore traditional values. Now, both systems of thought are important and healthy in a functioning democratic society. The idea of the left has its derivation from the French Revolution. When the National Assembly gathered to sort out business, those who called for radical change took their place on the left of the presiding officer, and those who sought a more conservative approach to reforming the monarchy took their place on the right. This was the birth of the modern political notions of left and right. Now, leftism was forged in the mood of the modern world birthed out of the Enlightenment. Modernism focused on the meta-narrative for society that sought to explain the nature of all things through science and reason, peaking in the late 19th century on an optimistic high. The Western world believed that rational, scientific thinking was going to transform the world into a paradise of freedom and technological mastery. The left really embraced this ideal and established its core objective: working class emancipation and the revolutionary dismantling of capitalism towards some type of liberal society, ultimately free from authority and class oppression. However, the world wars occurred and were devastating for modernism and particularly traditional leftism. Many people had put faith in science and collectivism, believing they would liberate the world and provide social equality. But they felt gravely betrayed when these factors helped in dragging the world into the horrendous devastation of modern industrial warfare. It left many questioning the legitimacy of traditional leftism and how it should be applied, especially where it had integrated with government authoritarianism. And so, a new left was born from the ruins of the old, influenced by rising consumer culture and postmodernism. In a rejection of the class war focus of traditional leftism, new leftists sought to understand people's struggles through abstraction and individuality. Accordingly, the academic left retreated to an emphasis on changing how individuals think instead of changing society through collective action. From this trend, identity politics formed, focusing on subjective experience through thought, language, and behaviour as the lens through which to understand and overcome oppression. This became the core of new leftism to this day. Identity politics are based on defining people on personal characteristics, ethnicity, sexuality, citizenship status, rather than their class or political viewpoint. Identity politics and intersectionality, by nature, result in some forms of oppression being coveted over others. This leads to division and disunity, as we see today as one form of oppression is trending and takes precedence over another. This creates competition among the endless groupings within the oppressed masses. So really, New Leftism is developed on the idea that in order to have social change, you need to change people's views first. This is applied extremely and aggressively by some who try to control the conversation to transform reality. This is the current form of virtue-driven moralistic leftism that has culminated in the 21st century. The great irony is that it is the corporate world that produced postmodernism and by extension created New Leftism. Neoliberalism convinced everyone, conservative and progressive, through consumer culture, that self-thought and individual narrative was more important than society and class consciousness. With the working and the middle classes self-absorbed, the ruling classes have been able to suppress us all through abstract interpretations of the world. Now, my critique of New Leftism is that it does not specifically fight for anything but dismantling power structures in an apolitical manner, meaning it has no end game but to destroy the status quo with no particular revolutionary intention. A very Marxian viewpoint worth considering is the common attitudes in a class-based society come from the ruling class. Therefore, the ideology of people who are struggling with oppression is riddled with all the baggage and the prejudice of the elites in society. It is only in the course of struggle to transform society that people in large numbers become transformed and truly change, not through convincing people or virtue signaling. Action over discourse. When leftism abandoned even the objective of struggling for social, revolutionary change, it was reduced to simply advocating a more humane version of capitalism, which is why it seems to gain little but hostility these days. If the 19th century was dedicated to trialing traditional leftism and the 20th century for new leftism, then here, in the 21st century, it must be for unifying both traditional and new leftism through shared struggle. The left, as a critical thinking, revolutionary ideology, must regain its ability to pressure power elites to reform in the short term and use its militancy for social revolution in the long term. Now, if you thought this was interesting, please like it and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And please subscribe for more. There is much to learn about the revolution. Remember, I am, you are, we are a mystery.